The stars belonged to the Valdoran Empire, and they had for 3,000 years. Their massive ships moved through space like metal wolves, hunting for new worlds to claim. The reptilian Valdorans had conquered hundreds of species, and they always used the same method. Start a war, keep it going for decades, then slowly wear down their enemies until they gave up. Overlord Thexus sat on his command throne, his cold yellow eyes studying the holographic display before him. The newest target floated in blue light, a small cluster of worlds called the Terran Federation. Humans, another weak species that would soon bow to Valdoran might. How many ships do these humans have? Thexus asked his war commander. Less than 200, my lord. Their technology is basic. They have only been in space for 2 centuries. Thexus smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Perfect. We will take their 3 main colonies first. New Sol, New Busan, and Terra Nova. The usual pattern. Attack civilians, make them afraid, then slowly break their will to fight. The war commander bowed. It shall be done, my lord. How long do you expect this conquest to take? 20 years, perhaps 30. These humans seem stubborn from our reports, but they all break eventually. Far from the Valdoran capital, Admiral Kang Daeho stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Defender. He was a tall man with graying hair and calm eyes that had seen too much war. Around him, his officers worked quietly at their stations. The bridge felt peaceful, but everyone knew that would change soon. Captain Park So-young's voice crackled over the communication system. Admiral, our scouts report Valdoran ships moving toward the outer colonies. Large fleet, sir. This looks like the real thing. Kang Daeho nodded slowly. They had been expecting this day for years. The Valdoran Empire never left anyone alone for long. How long until they reach New Sol? 48 hours, sir. Begin Operation Safe Harbor immediately. All civilian transports are to start evacuation procedures. I want every non-combatant off those colonies within 36 hours. Yes, sir. And our response? Kang Daeho was quiet for a moment. He thought about his daughter, safe on Earth. He thought about all the human children who deserve to grow up free. We defend our people, Captain. At all costs. On New Sol Colony, people moved quickly but without panic. They had practiced this many times. Parents carried small children, while older kids helped pack essential items. The evacuation had been planned down to the smallest detail. Lee Taemin watched the orderly movement of people from the spaceport control tower. He was the colony's diplomatic officer, but today he felt more like a soldier. His job was to make sure every human got to safety before the shooting started. Transport 7 is full, reported his assistant. That's 3,000 people safely away. Good. How many more to go? 15,000. We'll make it, sir. The plan is working. Lee Taemin hoped so. Unlike other species the Valdorans had fought, humans had spent decades preparing for this day. Every colony had evacuation plans. Every civilian knew exactly where to go and what to do. The Valdorans expected chaos and fear. They would find neither. Meanwhile, Commander Yoon Ji-woo sat in a dark room filled with screens and data streams. She was the head of human intelligence, and her job was to know everything about their enemies. For 50 years, humans had watched the Valdorans fight other species. They had studied every battle, every tactic, every weakness. Ma'am, we're getting reports from our deep space observers, said one of her analysts. The Valdoran fleet is moving exactly as predicted. 3 attack groups aimed at our outer colonies. Perfect. Send the information to Admiral Kang. Make sure he knows they're using formation Delta 7. Yes, ma'am. Should we activate our deep cover agents in Valdoran space? Not yet. Let them think they're surprising us. The longer they believe they understand us, the better. Yoon Ji-woo smiled grimly. The Valdorans had made one critical mistake. They thought humans were like every other species they had conquered. They thought humans would fight the same kind of long, slow war that had worked for them before. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The first Valdoran ships arrived at New Sol Colony right on schedule. Their commander, General Vextar, expected to find a world full of terrified civilians and desperate defenders. Instead, he found empty cities and orbital defenses that tracked his ships with mechanical precision. Where are all the people? Asked his tactical officer. Hiding, probably. It doesn't matter. Begin bombardment of the main city. That will bring them out. But when the Valdoran weapons struck the city, they hit empty buildings. The humans had vanished like smoke. Only the military remained, and they fought with a cold efficiency that surprised the Valdorans. Captain Park So-young led her fighter squadron against the Valdoran ships. She had trained for this moment her entire adult life. Every human pilot had. They knew exactly how Valdorans flew, exactly what tactics they would use, exactly where their ships were weakest. Gold Squadron, take the destroyers on the left. Silver Squadron, hit their support ships. Remember, we're not trying to beat them today. We're studying them. The battle raged for 6 hours. The humans fought well, but they seemed to be losing. Their ships pulled back, their defenses fell silent. To the Valdorans, it looked like victory was coming quickly. General Vextar was pleased. These humans break faster than most. Signal the other attack groups. We should have all 3 colonies within a week. But Admiral Kang De-ho wasn't retreating. He was learning. Every move the Valdorans made, every formation they used, every weapon pattern, all of it was being recorded and analyzed. The humans had given up 3 empty colonies to gain something far more valuable: complete knowledge of how their enemies fought. "Sir, we have everything we need," reported Captain Park So-young. "Their tactical patterns, their ship capabilities, their command structure. It's all exactly as our intelligence predicted." "Good. Signal all our forces to fall back to the inner system. Let the Valdorans think they've won." As the human ships withdrew, Kang De-ho felt a cold certainty settle over him. The Valdorans had started this war expecting it to last decades. They were used to fighting species that would gradually wear down and surrender. But humans didn't wage wars to win territory or prove dominance. Humans waged wars to end them. Permanently. The first phase was complete. Now the real work would begin. 3 weeks after the first attacks, General Vextar stood in the ruins of New Sol Colony and felt confused. This was wrong. Everything was wrong. In every other conquest, the Valdorans would attack colonies and find chaos. Civilians would run in panic. Military forces would be scattered and desperate. Leaders would send frantic messages begging for peace talks. But the humans had done none of those things. "Sir, we've searched the entire colony," reported his aide. "We found no civilians. No bodies, no signs of panic. They evacuated everyone in perfect order." "Impossible. No species is that organized under attack. The evidence is clear, sir. They had evacuation plans ready. Every civilian knew exactly where to go. Their military covered the retreat with precision we've never seen before." Vextar hissed in frustration. "What about their counterattack? Surely they're massing forces to retake their colonies." "That's the strange part, sir. They're not coming back. Our scouts report their military has pulled back to the inner system and stopped." "Stopped?" "Yes, sir. They're not attacking us. They're not even approaching us. They seem to be waiting." Back on Earth, in the underground command center deep below the capital, Admiral Kang De-ho studied the data streaming in from the outer colonies. Around him, dozens of analysts worked at screens showing ship movements, communication intercepts, and tactical assessments. "Their fleet composition is exactly what we predicted," reported Commander Yoon Ji-woo. 3 heavy assault groups, standard Valdoran formation. They're using the same tactics they used against the Zephyrians 20 years ago. And their response to our evacuation? Complete confusion. They expected panic and found organization. They expected desperate resistance and found calculated withdrawal. "Sir, I don't think they understand what's happening." Captain Park So-young entered the command center still wearing her flight suit. She had just returned from a reconnaissance mission to the outer system. "Admiral, I've seen their positions. They're spread out across all 3 colonies trying to secure territory they think they've conquered." "Perfect," said Kang De-ho. "How long do you need to prepare your squadrons?" "Give me 72 hours, sir. My pilots know what to do." Lee Tae-min looked up from his intelligence reports. "Admiral, we're intercepting their communications. They're already planning their next move. They want to push deeper into our territory, establish permanent bases on our colonies." "Let them plan," Kang De-ho said quietly. "The more they commit to their positions, the better this will work." On the Valdoran flagship, Overlord Thexus received General Vextar's daily report with growing irritation. This conquest was not proceeding according to plan. "You're telling me these humans just disappeared?" Thexus demanded. "Yes, my lord. Billions of civilians gone without a trace. They must have had evacuation ships hidden throughout their territory." "And their military response?" "Minimal, my lord. They fought long enough to cover the civilian escape, then retreated. We hold all 3 target colonies, but they seem empty." Thexus drummed his claws on his throne's armrest. In 3,000 years of conquest, this had never happened before. Species either surrendered quickly or fought desperately for their homes. They didn't simply vanish and wait. Perhaps they're planning a massive counterattack, suggested his war commander. Some species try to gather all their forces for one desperate battle. Then we'll crush them when they come. Double our patrols. I want to know the moment they move. But the humans weren't planning one desperate battle. They were planning something the Valdorans had never seen before. 72 hours later, Captain Park So-young sat in her fighter's cockpit, surrounded by the largest human fleet ever assembled. 200 ships hung in space around her, silent as death. Every pilot knew the plan. Every ship commander understood their role. "All squadrons, this is Admiral Kang," came the voice over their communications. "You have studied the enemy for 3 weeks. You know their positions, their patrol routes, their response times. You know their weaknesses. Today we don't fight to defend territory. We don't fight to send a message. We fight to end their ability to threaten human space. Begin Operation Thunder." The human fleet moved as one unit. They had trained for this moment for decades. While other species fought random, chaotic battles, humans fought with the precision of a surgical instrument. Park So-young's fighter squadron hit the first Valdoran patrol exactly where intelligence said it would be. The enemy ships never had a chance to send a warning. Within minutes, the entire patrol was destroyed. Across the outer colonies, similar scenes played out. Human ships appeared without warning, struck with devastating precision, then vanished before reinforcements could arrive. They didn't waste time claiming territory or taking prisoners. They simply eliminated every Valdoran military asset they could find. General Vextar watched in horror as his fleet was systematically dismantled. "How are they doing this? How do they know exactly where we are?" "Sir, they seem to know our patrol routes better than we do. They're hitting us where we're weakest, when we're most vulnerable. It's like they've been studying us for years. Impossible. We only made contact with them 3 weeks ago." But it wasn't impossible. Commander Yoon Ji-woo's intelligence network had been watching the Valdorans fight other species for 50 years. They knew every tactic, every formation, every standard procedure. While the Valdorans had been conquering, the humans had been learning. The battle raged for exactly 6 hours. When it ended, the Valdoran fleet had been reduced to scattered survivors hiding in asteroid fields. They had lost 60% of their ships and had no idea how. "Sir, we need reinforcements," Vexitar reported to Overlord Thexus. "These humans fight like nothing we've ever seen. They don't want to conquer us. They want to destroy us." "Nonsense. Every species wants something. Territory, resources, power. Find out what these humans want." But Lee Taman was already broadcasting the answer across all Valdoran frequencies. His message was simple and clear. "Valdoran Empire, you attacked our colonies thinking we would fight like your previous enemies. You were wrong. We don't fight for conquest. We don't fight for glory. We fight to protect our people and end threats to peace. Withdraw from human space immediately or we will remove you." The message confused Thexus. Remove them? How could such a small species remove the mighty Valdoran Empire? He was about to find out. Admiral Kang De-ho stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display as the remaining Valdoran ships fled deeper into the outer colonies. His officers were celebrating, but he remained calm. "Sir, we've won," said Captain Park So-young. "They're retreating." "No, Captain. We've won a battle. The war is just beginning. These Valdorans have ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years by making others afraid to fight back. Today we showed them that some species don't fear them. Tomorrow we show them what happens to bullies when someone finally stands up to them." The first lesson was complete. The Valdoran Empire was about to learn that humans didn't just fight wars differently, they ended them permanently. Overlord Thexus paced back and forth in his war room, his tail lashing with anger. The reports from the outer colonies were impossible to believe. A fleet of 200 human ships had destroyed over half of his forces in 6 hours. 6 hours! Wars were supposed to last decades, not hours. "Bring me our best strategists," he commanded. "I want to understand how these humans fight." Within hours, the Empire's greatest military minds gathered around the holographic display. General Mordak, who had conquered the Centauri systems. Admiral Sektoth, destroyer of the rebel worlds. Commander Vulketh, master of siege warfare. "My lord," said General Mordak, "I've studied the battle recordings. These humans don't fight like any species we've encountered. They don't try to hold territory. They don't waste time with honor duels or formal challenges. They simply destroy our ability to fight and move on. They fight like machines, added Admiral Sektoth. Cold, efficient, precise. No emotion, no hesitation. They studied our tactics and found the perfect counter to each one. Thexus slammed his fist on the table.
Then we change our tactics.
Set the Nexus trap. It has worked 17 times before. Draw them into the Nexus sector where our hidden fleets wait. Once we surround them, their efficiency won't matter. Commander Volketh nodded slowly. The Nexus sector is perfect, my lord. Narrow space lanes, hidden asteroid bases, overlapping fields of fire. Even if they know it's a trap, they won't be able to escape. Good. Send what's left of our outer forces retreating toward Nexus. Make it look desperate, panicked. Let these humans think they're winning. Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship Defender, Lee Taman studied the Valdoran retreat with experienced eyes. As both a diplomat and a former soldier, he understood military deception better than most. Admiral, he reported to Kang Deho, the Valdoran withdrawal is too organized to be real panic. They're pulling back along specific routes, all leading to the same sector. The Nexus sector, said Commander Yoon Jiwoo, pulling up a star chart. We've been monitoring Valdoran communications. They've used this trap 17 times in the past 3 centuries. They hide fleet reserves in the asteroid fields, then surround pursuing enemies. Captain Park So-young frowned. It's an obvious trap. Surely they don't think we'll just fly into it. They do, said Admiral Kang. Because every other species they've fought would either avoid the trap completely or fall into it by accident. They don't understand that we might see the trap and enter it on purpose. The room fell silent. Lee Taman was the first to speak. You want to spring their trap? I want to show them what happens when they try to trap humans. Commander Yoon, what assets do they have hidden in Nexus? 200 ships in the asteroid fields, sir. 15 weapons platforms, elite boarding troops waiting to capture our vessels. It's their strongest defensive position outside their home systems. Perfect. Captain Park, how many ships do we need to make this look convincing? Park So-young smiled grimly. 40 ships, sir. Enough to look like a serious pursuit, not enough to look like our entire fleet. And the rest of our forces? We'll be waiting exactly where they don't expect us, sir. 3 days later, General Vexitar led his remaining ships in what looked like a desperate retreat toward the Nexus sector. Behind him, 40 human ships pursued with what seemed like aggressive confidence. Everything was going according to plan. My lord, he reported to Thexus, the humans are following us exactly as predicted. They're moving fast, probably thinking they can finish us off quickly. Excellent. How long until they're in the trap? 6 hours, my lord. Our hidden fleets are in position. The moment the humans enter Nexus, we'll have them surrounded. But aboard her flagship, Park So-young was reading very different reports. Admiral Kang, the Valdorans have positioned their trap exactly as intelligence predicted. They're feeling confident. Good. Are our real forces in position? Yes, sir. 160 ships hidden in the gravity wells of the outer planets. The Valdorans are watching the obvious approach routes. They have no idea we're already behind them. Perfect. Begin Phase 2. The trap was sprung exactly on schedule. As the 40 human ships entered the Nexus sector, Valdoran forces emerged from hidden positions in the asteroid fields. Within minutes, the human pursuit force was surrounded by 200 enemy ships. Surrender, humans, broadcast Admiral Sektoth. You are outnumbered 5-1. Your reckless pursuit ends here. But Captain Park So-young's response surprised him. Admiral Sektoth, you should check your rear sensors. Confused, Sektoth ordered his ships to scan behind their positions. What they found made his blood run cold. 160 human ships had somehow appeared behind the Valdoran trap fleet, emerging from positions that should have been impossible to reach without detection. How? He whispered. Lee Taman's voice came over the communication channels, calm and educational. Admiral, you've been fighting the same way for 3,000 years. You use the same tactics, the same formations, the same strategies. You never adapted because you never had to. Every species you fought used the same basic approach. Try to win battles, capture territory. Fight with honor. But humans don't fight for honor, added Admiral Kang Deho as his ships moved into attack position. We fight to solve problems. Your empire is a problem. Today we begin solving it. The Battle of Nexus lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the Valdoran Empire's most elite fleet had been completely destroyed. Not damaged, not scattered, destroyed. The humans had turned the Empire's greatest trap into its greatest defeat. But more importantly, they had captured the sector's communication hub. Commander Yoon Ji-woo's teams quickly accessed the Valdoran military network, downloading centuries of tactical data, fleet positions, and strategic plans, sir, she reported to Admiral Kang. We now have complete information on their entire military structure. Fleet positions, supply routes, command codes, everything. How much of their empire can we map from this? All of it, sir. The Valdorans kept detailed records of every conquest, every military base, every strategic resource. We know more about their empire than they do. Overlord Thexus received the news of Nexus in stunned silence. His greatest trap had not only failed, it had cost him his most experienced commanders and his most secret military intelligence. My lord, his aide reported quietly, we're also receiving reports from across the empire. Something strange is happening. Subject species are asking questions about the humans. Some are requesting more information about this new force that defeated our elite fleets. Questions? They want to know if it's true that humans fight to end wars, not start them. They want to know if humans would protect them from retaliation if they stopped obeying Valdoran orders. Thexus felt a cold fear creep into his heart. In 3,000 years of rule, the Empire had never faced an enemy that made their subjects hope. Every previous enemy had simply wanted to replace Valdoran rule with their own, but these humans seemed to fight for something else entirely. They fought to end the very concept of imperial rule. Send word to all sector commands, he ordered. Full military mobilization. I want every ship, every soldier, every weapon we have ready for war. But in the depths of space, Admiral Kang Dae-ho was already 3 steps ahead. The real war was about to begin, and the Valdorans still didn't understand what they were fighting against. The message from Admiral Kang Dae-ho reached every corner of the galaxy within hours. It was broadcast on all frequencies, translated into hundreds of languages, and sent to every world under Valdoran control. Lee Taemin's voice was calm but firm as he delivered humanity's declaration. To all peoples of the galaxy, the Human-Terran Federation does not seek to conquer you. We do not want your worlds, your resources, or your obedience. We fight for one reason only: to end the Valdoran Empire's ability to threaten peaceful species. Any world that declares independence from Valdoran rule will have our protection. Any people who choose freedom will have our support. We do not wage war to rule. We wage war to end the need for others to live in fear. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Kang Dae-ho watched as responses poured in from across Valdoran space. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Sir, reported Commander Yoon Ji-woo, we're getting messages from over 40 different species. Most are asking if our offer of protection is genuine. And I've confirmed our response with each one. Yes, we mean it. No conditions, no hidden costs. Just freedom from Valdoran oppression. Captain Park So-young looked up from her tactical display. Admiral, Valdoran fleets are mobilizing everywhere. They're trying to stop their subjects from communicating with us. Too late, said Kang Dae-ho. The message is already out. Now comes the real test of our strategy. On the planet Kepler Prime, a world that had been under Valdoran rule for 2 centuries, Governor Zaltek stared at the human broadcast in disbelief. Around him, his council of advisors argued in hushed voices. This cannot be real, said one. No species offers protection without wanting something in return. But what if it is real? Asked another. What if these humans truly fight only to end oppression? Zaltek made his decision. Send a message to the human fleet. Tell them Kepler Prime accepts their offer. We declare independence from the Valdoran Empire. Similar scenes played out on hundreds of worlds. Species that had been crushed under Valdoran rule for generations suddenly saw hope. The Zephyrians, nearly extinct after their failed rebellion. The Crystalline Confederacy, reduced to mining slaves. The peaceful Verdani, whose children had been taken as soldiers for centuries. All of them sent the same message. We choose freedom. Overlord Thexus watched his empire begin to crumble and felt rage like never before. Send the Death Fleet to Kepler Prime, he commanded. Make an example of them. Show the galaxy what happens to traitors. My lord, his aide hesitated. The Death Fleet is our most powerful force. Are you sure we should risk it on one rebellious world? Yes. If we don't crush this rebellion now, it will spread everywhere. The humans cannot protect every world at once. But the humans had anticipated this response. Major Kim Hyun-soo led a small team of special operations soldiers on a mission that would have seemed impossible to any other species. They infiltrated Valdoran space not to sabotage or spy, but to teach. Remember, Kim told her team as they approached Kepler Prime. "We're not here to fight their battles for them. We're here to show them how to fight their own battles and win." When the Valdoran Death Fleet arrived at Kepler Prime, expecting to find a defenseless world, they instead found something unprecedented. The planet's defense platforms had been upgraded with human technology. The local security forces had been trained in human tactics. Most importantly, the people themselves had been organized into an effective resistance network. The battle lasted 3 days. When it ended, the Death Fleet had been destroyed not by human ships but by the very people the Valdorans had thought they owned. It was the first time in galactic history that a subject world had successfully defended itself against Valdoran retaliation. The news spread faster than light. If Kepler Prime could resist, any world could resist. Lieutenant Colonel Choi Min-ji coordinated similar operations across Valdoran space. Small teams of human advisors, each working with local resistance movements. They didn't bring large armies or massive fleets. They brought something far more dangerous to an oppressive empire: knowledge. The key, she explained to a group of Zephyrian rebels, is not to fight like the Valdorans expect. They expect desperate uprisings that they can crush with overwhelming force. Instead, fight smart. Hit their supply lines, disrupt their communications, make it impossible for them to control you. "But what if they send their entire fleet against us?" asked the Zephyrian leader. "Then they can't send it against someone else. Every ship they use to hold down one world is a ship they can't use to attack another. Make them choose between keeping what they have and taking what they want. They can't do both." Back on his flagship, Overlord Thexus faced reports that confirmed his worst fears. Rebellions were breaking out everywhere. His fleets were scattered across the Empire trying to maintain control. And somehow the humans seemed to be supporting every rebellion simultaneously. "My lord," reported General Mordak, "we've lost contact with 16 sectors. The rebels are using tactics we've never seen before. They strike our supply convoys, then vanish. They jam our communications, then coordinate attacks across multiple systems. It's like fighting an entire empire of military geniuses." "It's the humans," snarled Thexus. "They're teaching our slaves how to fight us." "But sir, our intelligence reports show very few human ships in our territory. Maybe a few dozen advisors at most. That's all they need. They're not conquering our empire. They're making our empire conquer itself." Admiral Kang Dae-ho received regular reports from his scattered teams across Valdoran space. The results exceeded even his expectations. "Sir," reported Commander Yoon Ji-woo, "Operation Liberation is proceeding ahead of schedule. 87 worlds have declared independence. The Valdorans are trying to respond to rebellions on 17 different fronts simultaneously. And their main fleet? Scattered. They're having to choose between protecting their core worlds and trying to maintain control over their subjects. They can't do both effectively." Captain Park So-young smiled as she reviewed the tactical situation. "Admiral, they're making the same mistake every bully makes. They think fear is the same thing as loyalty. When the fear is gone, there's nothing left." Lee Taman approached with the latest intelligence reports. "Sir, we're intercepting communications from the Valdoran High Command. Overlord Thexus is recalling all fleets to defend their home systems." "Perfect. How many species are now free of Valdoran control?" "Over half, sir. And the number grows every day." Kang Dae-ho nodded slowly. This was how humans waged war. Not by conquering enemies, but by making it impossible for enemies to continue fighting. Not by ruling over others, but by teaching others to rule themselves. "Begin Phase 4, he ordered. "It's time to end this empire once and for all." In the depths of Valdoran space, Overlord Thexus stared at the tactical display showing his shrinking empire. Red zones marked rebel-controlled space. Yellow zones showed areas under dispute. Green zones, representing secure Valdoran territory, had shrunk to less than a quarter of what they had been just months ago. "My lord," his aide reported quietly, "the core worlds are asking if we should negotiate with the humans." Thexus turned, his eyes blazing with fury. "Never! The Valdoran Empire does not negotiate with inferiors." But deep down he was beginning to understand a terrible truth. These humans had never intended to defeat the Valdoran Empire in battle. They had intended to make the Empire defeat itself. And it was working. The end came faster than anyone expected, even the humans. Admiral Kang Dae-ho stood on the bridge of his flagship as it approached the Valdoran home system. Behind him, a massive fleet followed, but not just human ships. Vessels from dozens of newly liberated worlds flew alongside the Terran Federation fleet. Zephyrian fighters, crystalline defense platforms, Verdani support ships, all united under a simple banner: freedom. "Sir," reported Captain Park So-young, "we're receiving surrender requests from the outer defense stations. They're asking for terms." "Tell them the same thing we've told everyone," Kang Dae-ho replied. "Lay down your weapons, return to your homes, and you will not be harmed. We're not here for revenge." Commander Yoon Ji-woo looked up from her intelligence station. "Admiral, the Valdoran government is in complete chaos. Half their military commanders have already surrendered to local rebel forces. The other half are trying to reach the homeworld. And Overlord Thexus, barricaded in his fortress palace with what's left of his loyal troops. Maybe 10,000 soldiers out of an empire that once commanded millions." Lee Tae-min approached with the latest diplomatic reports. "Sir, we're getting requests from over 200 worlds asking about joining a new galactic federation. They want protection, but they also want to contribute to keeping the peace." Kang Dae-ho smiled. This was exactly what they had hoped for. "Tell them we'll discuss it after we finish cleaning up this mess." On the Valdoran homeworld, Overlord Thexus paced in his throne room like a caged animal. Through the massive windows he could see human ships filling the sky. But it wasn't the size of the fleet that frightened him. It was who was flying with them. "My lord," reported his last remaining general, "the human fleet includes ships from every species we've ever conquered. The Zephyrians we nearly destroyed, the crystalline confederacy we enslaved, the Verdani whose children we took. They're all here." "Impossible. How could they have rebuilt their fleet so quickly?" "They didn't, sir. The humans gave them ships. Not sold, not leased, gave them freely. They're saying the humans want nothing in return except their promise to never oppress others." Thexus slammed his fist against the window. "No species is that generous. They must want something." But even as he said it, he knew it wasn't true. Every report, every intelligence briefing, every communication intercept said the same thing. The humans truly seemed to want nothing except an end to the Empire's ability to threaten others. A communication request came through the palace's systems. Thexus almost ignored it, then decided he had to know. Admiral Kang Dae-ho's face appeared on the screen, calm and patient. "Overlord Thexus, I am Admiral Kang Dae-ho of the Terran Federation. I'm calling to offer you a choice." "I will never surrender to you, human." "I'm not asking you to surrender to us. I'm asking you to surrender to them." The screen split, showing dozens of faces, representatives from every species the Valdorans had conquered, oppressed, or enslaved. Zephyrians, Crystallans, Verdani, and dozens of others. "These are the people who will decide your fate," continued Kang Dae-ho. "Not us, we don't want to rule your empire. We want to make sure no one rules it ever again." Zalthek, now the elected leader of the Liberated Worlds Council, spoke next. "Overlord Thexus, you have a choice. Walk out of your palace and face justice from the peoples you oppressed, or stay inside and let us decide what to do with you." "Justice? You want revenge?"
"No," said Zalthek quietly.
"We want peace. Real peace, the kind that comes when bullies can never hurt anyone again." Thexus cut the communication and turned to his general. "How many troops do we have left?" 8,000, my lord. The rest have either surrendered or simply gone home." "And the humans?" "They're not attacking, sir. They're just waiting." Outside the palace, Lee Tae-min coordinated with representatives from the liberated worlds. The scene was unlike anything in galactic history. Former enemies working together not for conquest but for justice. "The tribunal is ready," reported Zalthek. Representatives from 47 different species, all prepared to hear evidence of Valdoran war crimes. And if Thexus refuses to come out, then we wait. The humans have made it clear, this is not their decision to make. "It's ours," Major Kim Hyun-soo approached with her final report. "Sir, the last Valdoran military installation has surrendered. Their fleet is completely disbanded. Every ship has been returned to local security forces or scrapped. What about their weapons manufacturing? Converted to peaceful purposes or shut down? The former slave worlds are very thorough about making sure the Valdorans can never build another war machine." Captain Park So-young joined the group, having just completed the final military sweep. "All Valdoran military assets secured, sir. No remaining threat capability." Lee Tae-min nodded. "Then it's finished. The Valdoran Empire is officially ended, but the real work was just beginning." Over the following weeks, representatives from across the galaxy gathered to create something new. Not another empire, Not a human-dominated federation, but a true alliance of free worlds. The Galactic Defense Coalition, announced Zalthek at the founding ceremony, dedicated to ensuring that no single species ever again dominates others. Every world equal, every people free, every voice heard. Admiral Kang Daeho was asked to serve as the coalition's first military commander, but he declined. "Humans didn't fight to become your leaders," he said. "We fought to make sure you could lead yourselves." Instead, the coalition elected a council with rotating leadership. Humans served alongside Zephyrians, Crystallines, Verdani, and even reformed Valdorans who had abandoned their empire's ways. Overlord Thexus never left his palace. He was found days later alone in his throne room, staring out at a sky filled with ships from species he had once ruled. The tribunal decided his fate quickly: exile to a remote world where he could live out his days but never again command others. "It's too kind," some said. "No," replied Zalthek. "It's exactly what he deserves. To live long enough to see a galaxy where his way of doing things is forgotten." Years later, Li Taimin served as Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Defense Coalition. He often thought about the war and what it had meant. "People ask me how we won," he told a gathering of young diplomats from across the galaxy. "They think it was superior technology or better tactics or some secret weapon. But that's not why we won." "Then why?" asked a young Zephyrian. "Because we understood something the Valdorans never did. You can't build lasting power by making others afraid of you. You can only build it by making others willing to stand with you. The Valdorans ruled through fear, and when the fear was gone, they had nothing left." "But how did you know that would work?" Li Taimin smiled. "Because humans have been both conquerors and conquered throughout our history. We learned the hard way that empires built on oppression always fall eventually. The only thing that lasts is freedom willingly shared." The Galactic Defense Coalition grew stronger each year. New species were welcomed as equals, not subjects. Old enemies became allies. And at the center of it all was a simple principle that humans had brought to the galaxy. True strength isn't the power to dominate others. It's the power to help others stand free. The Valdoran Empire had ruled for 3,000 years through fear and oppression. The coalition had already lasted longer, built on hope and cooperation. And it showed no signs of ever falling, because the humans had been right from the beginning. They didn't wage wars to win them. They waged wars to end them. And they had ended the greatest war of all, the war between freedom and tyranny. The galaxy was finally at peace,